Welcome to Brotherhood of Healing, the podcast devoted to supporting veterans in health, resources, and in life after the uniform. Here we share inspiring stories, valuable information, practical advice to help our veterans thrive beyond their service. Whether you're seeking guidance, community, or simply want to hear from those who understand your journey, you're in the right place. Thank you for your service and welcome to the Brotherhood of Healing. Tying on target now. Welcome back to Brotherhood of Healing. Today's it's the podcast that focuses on veteran affairs, veteran issues. We showcase veteran-owned businesses, and we bring to light some of the resources available for veterans in our community. But we talk mostly about health and men's health in particular. But the podcast is for everyone, not just veterans. So today's episode is on the rise of STIs in the veteran community. It is something that is kind of alarming. According to the National Institute of Health, the rates for chlamydia has risen from 38.4 to 48.5 in the last couple of years. Syphilis has gone up to 15.1% and gonorrhea 30.6%. Also, both of these are marked rises in the STI, formerly known as STD. So sexually transmitted disease versus STI, which is a sexually transmitted infection. And they made the change a few years back, given that they're calling it what it is. It's an infection. Okay. So the recent trends of increasing the rates of STIs for the top three, chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis, and the viral ones such as HPV and HSV, it's all of them have kind of gone up, and there's several reasons for that. I'm going to get into that in a couple minutes. But who does it affect? Well, mostly younger veterans and younger people. 15 to 24 is usually the range. Although we are seeing quite a bit of rise in STI infections among the elderly. Apparently, since the advent of these medications that help with erections and what have you, we've had a lot more sexually active elderly community, and we're finding some alarming numbers there as well. So what drives the rise? Well, reduced use of condoms, changing sexual behaviors, dating apps, sliding left to right. Hookup culture is big. Testing gaps. A lot of people just don't get tested as much as they should. A lot of times this is access to healthcare. The VA has, you can always go to the VA and stuff like that, but there's always a stigma along with that. So a lot of people don't do that, and they don't want to go through the civilian doctor because then that costs money. So anyway, there's also antibiotic resistance and low awareness of asymptomatic infections. In other words, there are, some of these are, you have no symptoms, so you really don't know. Typically, we react to when we have like massive, discharge or pain or what have you, anything that would alarm you to think that there's something going on. But with asymptomatic presentation, people just kind of go about their daily life. And that didn't happen to me. I'm good. Well, that's why getting tested is good. Now I'm going to tell you this. This talk is not about judgment. It's really about, the facts, but no shame. People do what you do, you do you. But just knowing some of these facts might help you in that decision-making process, right? Okay, so what do we do for promotion to or promoting the prevention of and harm reduction. Well, regular screening for one, as I talked to, condoms is a good barrier. Vaccination for people to have HPV and hepatitis B. Um, you can get those shots at your local VA. Safer sex messaging to tailor to age, culture, and sexual orientation. I think that's always important. Um, Testing treatment, well, there are different types of tests: urine, blood. All these are really manageable, and it's of great importance that we do this, because what we don't want to do is infect somebody, because you don't know that you have an STI, and having to address it later is not fun. I can imagine. Um, so addressing the stigma in the community, reduce shame, normalize testing as a routine healthcare. Um, I remember growing up, and they had these videos at school about STIs, and they were geared to scare the shit out of you. Ah, God, you didn't even want to look at another person. You don't want, it was horrible. And it was done by design. It was like that. They really want to try to scare, and the media does the same thing. It scares the crap out of people into thinking that this is a really, really bad thing. It's really shameful. Well, it's all part of the sex culture, right? So, having said that, knowing that that's definitely a possibility, just take care of it, and just look at it as a kind of routine thing, part of your health and welfare checks. Just go there and say, hey, I'd like an STD panel or an STI panel, for that matter. And that usually does and there's no judgment. There shouldn't be any judgment, because as far as I'm concerned, as being a practitioner myself for close to 30 years, I can tell you that there's only two things allowed in medicine, according to me, and that is humility and compassion. That's it. Judgment. All these things are luxuries you can't afford as a provider. You don't get to do that. That's not your job. Your job is to take care of that person. So that's what it should be. Is it that way? No. There's a lot of other things that kind of take place that prevent somebody from doing the right thing. Um, well, um, you know, we have to become more, sensitive to that this is a problem in our community. We need to just kind of, I don't know how strong of a campaign we have to launch to get this under control. That I'm telling you, almost 50%, almost in some of these. Uh, when once you get, if let's say that you do go to the doctor and you get medication for it, make sure that you are compliant with the medication, take it completely, and that avoids for you to become resistant to that particular antibiotic. Um, uh, of course, funding is always a big thing, and depending on who's in charge of uh, of the VA and what have you, it may not necessarily be a top priority, and the top priority might be behavioral health, or it might be something else. But but at any rate, it requires a certain amount of funding that will ensure these campaigns go fine, according to plan. Um, you know, Prevention is everything. Get tested regularly. Talk openly about it. Uh, Offer to share resources with others, and just be responsible. That's really what we're talking about, really. Um, so the and knowing that you're not alone. Clearly, there's a lot of people that go through this, and there's so many people that just don't do anything about it. They just continue, and they spread it. They spread it to anybody they're in contact with, right? But the biggest rise, I think, was in the marginalized communities. I think that's kind of like where how does it affect veterans? Well,
the same way, I imagine. Uh, there's no single cause of why this is happening, the sexual behavior. Nowadays there's just so much on everything sexualized on TV. Everything is, so yeah, you can see people just falling into that culture where, you know, I don't want to wear a condom. I'm not, that sort of thing. And that's where all the problems start. But the testing itself is relatively easy. You should know within a day or so of the type of the results of that said test, and it's something, just inculcate that in your normal healthcare plan for yourself. The problem is that, you know it's important to, when you go to the doctor, that's the last thing you want to talk to the doctor about, because of the stigma. So it's really important to talk openly as, listen, yes, I have multiple sex partners, yes, I did this and that, and this is what I'm worried about. And you know and again, you're not married to this doctor. If you're not comfortable with that doctor talking openly about it, then it's time to find another doctor, because that's his job. You're not allowing him to do his job, and you need to find someone you're comfortable talking about these difficult subjects. um anyway, we have so that pretty much summarizes the whole STI um problem. I can tell you that while I was on active duty, it would seem like every Monday morning right before PT, we would have 2 or 3 people come in for STI testing, because the weekend they had unprotected access with others, and it was always a thing. And then we always have this one or two people that were repeat offenders that would come in, and they always had the same kind of thing, and they keep on going back, and we put them on medications, and that's, then it becomes a big concern, because this guy is, or this person is not, um, being compliant with therapy, or not, doing what he wants, and it's not. And this is where education comes in. It's super important that we educate our folks too. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. I didn't want to take up too much of your time. I just want to bring that up to the forefront, because my end of it is always to take care of veterans, and their families, and to make sure that you guys are safe and healthy out there. Goodbye.
Thank you for tuning in to Brotherhood of Healing. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment and leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Your feedback helps us grow and bring you even better content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep your powder dry and watch your six.